أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. In this lesson, we're going to be talking about the verbal noun, the masdar. A masdar is an action without a time frame. So for example, writing, eating, sleeping, all these are verbal nouns because they denote an action without a time frame. Now there is a relationship between the masdar and the verb. For example, sama is the past tense verb, which means he fasted, and the present tense is yasumu. Now, what's the masdar of sama? We'll actually come to know that there are quite a number of words in the Arabic language that actually have more than one masdar. And as we said, the masdar was the original word where all other words are derived from. So this is based on the Basran school. So we have two schools in the Arabic language, and the Basran school say that the masdar is the original word. And this is the dominant position. And even today, you find most scholars that follow this opinion. But the point is, with sama, we have two masdars, sawm and siyam. And they both mean fasting. So for example, when we talk about the 5 pillars of Islam, and one of them is Sawmu Ramadan, the fasting of Ramadan. And in the Qur'an, it says, Kutiba alaykum as-siyam. So actually both of these masdars are used. And actually the Qur'an uses both of these masdars. However, when the Qur'an uses it, it gives each one a specific meaning. We'll find this out inshallah later on in the lesson. So the point is, we can have one or more masdars for a particular root. So let's answer the question. Why do we have more than one masdar? There are two reasons. So the first reason, it's based on the different Arab tribes and the different dialects they had. So we know that there was actually a number of different tribes prior to the revelation of the Quran. For example, we have the word kataba. Now we're taught that the masdar of kataba is kitaba. However, there's actually more than one masdar. Now this is what Sibaway says. He says the following: in masdarahu kitabun. So actually kitab is also considered a masdar, according to Sibaway. And he says, وَبَعْضَ الْعَرَبِ يَقُولُ كَتْبًا عَلَى الْقِيَاسِ. So here we have two more masdars, katban and kitab. And we know that kitaba is also a masdar. So that's 3 masdars. Just one more example, just before we leave this point, is we have wajada, he found. And we have the masdars, wajdan, wujdan, wijdan, and mawjida. We also have the one that we're taught is wujud. So here we have 5 masdars for this verb. Now the interesting part is the second point. And the second point is that there's different masdars because they have different meanings. Now these meanings have been documented by the Arabs in some cases, but in other cases it's specific to the Qur'an. And these are the examples, inshallah, that we'll go through. The ones related to the Qur'an. Now, inshallah, in this lesson, we'll be explaining how patterns of a masdar can give further information about its meaning. Now, in Arabic, the patterns are called awzan al-masdar. So the patterns of the masdar. And inshallah, we'll be covering the most important ones and the ones that are used in the Quran. Now, what I'm going to speak about in the lesson are actually general rules identified by scholars. And what I've done, I've actually summarized it. Let me just take an example of this. We have the pattern fa'il. Now this is a common pattern, and actually it's a shared pattern because fa'il is actually used for other type of words. The ism fa'il, the ism maf'ul, the sifa mushabbaha, and so on. So I want to speak about this pattern being a masdar. And when it's actually a masdar, scholars have actually identified that this pattern denotes a relation to traveling and an action associated with a sound. So for example, rahil. Rahil means departure or traveling. It's a masdar on this pattern. We also have the word hadir. Hadir is a sound. Now, fa'il is not just used for actions related to traveling or actions associated with a sound, but usually they are. As I said, these rules I'm going to go through are general rules, and obviously there are exceptions. But what we will do is actually we'll touch on examples from the Quran. Let's continue on. So the first wazn or pattern that we'll go through is fa'lun. So this is one of the masdar patterns. Now this masdar pattern is actually used for transitive verbs on the pattern of fa'ala. So either bab fataha yaftahu or bab daraba yadribu. So for example, daraba, and the masdar of daraba is on this pattern here, which is darbun. Similarly, nasara yansuru is nasrun. Fataha yaftahu is fathun. So darbun, hitting, nasrun, either helping or victory, and fathun, opening and also victory. Now we also have this pattern here, fa'ulun. Now in a similar way, it's used for the intransitive verb on the pattern of fa'ala. So both these patterns are used for the masdar, for the past tense verb that has its middle radical having a fatha in both cases. But this is for intransitive verbs and this is for transitive verbs. So an example of the intransitive would be jalasa yajlisu and julusun. So both of these mean he sat, qa'ada yaq'adu and qu'udun. And I actually have a lesson on this difference between these two verbs. So I'll link that up, inshallah. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, to like the video, and to turn on notifications.
أو زد عليه ورتل القرآن ترتيلا إنا سنلقي عليك قولا ثقيلا